The Dallas Cowboys are entering a fascinating phase of the offseason, one that could ultimately define the direction of the franchise heading into the 2026 NFL season. Over the past several weeks, the roster has undergone a series of subtle but meaningful changes. Some players have arrived with the potential to shift the balance of the defense. Others have quietly departed, leaving behind unanswered questions about depth, development, and long-term strategy. At the center of it all sits a familiar name who continues to shape the identity of this team, Dak Prescott. And if the latest comments from one of Dallas' newest defenders are any indication, the philosophy in Dallas might be crystal clear moving forward. Durant's arrival in Dallas may not have generated the same headlines as blockbuster trades or superstar signings, but the mentality he brings to the Cowboys' defense says a lot about where this team believes its strength truly lies. When Durant spoke after signing with the Cowboys, he made one thing clear. His job is simple: create takeaways and get the ball back to Dak Prescott. That statement reveals something deeper about the Cowboys' strategic approach. This defense isn't just trying to stop opponents. It's trying to generate opportunities for the offense, and more specifically, for Prescott. Durant enters the Cowboys' secondary with a chip on his shoulder that could prove valuable in a defensive room already filled with playmakers. After 4 seasons in the league with the Los Angeles Rams, Durant has developed a reputation for versatility. He can play inside in the slot. He can play outside on the boundary. He can adjust depending on coverage responsibilities and defensive schemes. That kind of positional flexibility is exactly what new defensive coordinator Christian Parker appears to value. When Durant met with Parker and the Cowboys' new defensive staff, including defensive backs coach Derek Ansley and secondary coach Ryan Smith, the message seemed to resonate immediately. The expectation is not just to fit into the system, but to elevate it. Durant believes he can do that by doing what he does best: attacking the football. What makes this addition interesting is the mentality he carries with him. Durant openly acknowledges that critics often label him as undersized for the position. At 28 years old, he knows the narrative surrounding him. But rather than shy away from it, he embraces it. He calls himself the Land Shark, a nickname that reflects the aggressive style he intends to bring to the Cowboys secondary. In a league where physical size often dominates the scouting conversation, Durant is betting on instincts, effort, and football IQ to prove his value. And for Dallas, that mentality might be exactly what they need. The Cowboys' defense struggled with consistency last season, particularly when it came to generating turnovers at critical moments. Too often, the offense found itself needing to carry the momentum of games without the extra possessions that game-changing defenses provide. That's why Durant's focus on takeaways isn't just motivational talk. It aligns directly with a major organizational priority. If this defense can produce more interceptions, more forced fumbles, and more short fields, the entire offensive philosophy changes. Suddenly, Dak Prescott doesn't need to march 80 yards down the field every drive. Suddenly, explosive plays become more frequent. Suddenly, the Cowboys can dictate the tempo of games rather than reacting to them. And when you consider the playmakers already in the secondary, Durant's arrival becomes even more intriguing. Darren Bland has already proven he can be one of the most dangerous ball-hawking corners in the league. His instincts and ability to jump routes make him a constant threat to opposing quarterbacks. Pairing that type of playmaking with Durant's aggressive mindset could create a secondary that thrives on chaos. Add in the new safety acquisitions and the system Christian Parker wants to implement, and you begin to see the blueprint forming. But even as Dallas works to strengthen the defensive backfield, the reality of roster construction remains complex. The Cowboys have been active in free agency this offseason, but not in the way many fans initially expected. Early comments from Jerry Jones suggested the team might bust the budget in free agency to improve the defense, particularly on third downs. Many interpreted that statement as a sign that Dallas would aggressively chase marquee players across the league. Instead, the Cowboys have taken a more measured approach. In terms of total contract value, the team has actually spent slightly less during the first wave of free agency than they did at the same point last year. However, the story becomes more nuanced when examining the financial strategy behind those numbers. Dallas operates under what's known as a cash-to-cap philosophy. Rather than pushing massive amounts of money into future salary cap years, the organization tries to match its spending closely to the annual cap limit. This approach preserves long-term flexibility and helps avoid the kind of financial situations that force teams into painful roster cuts down the road. In other words, the Cowboys may not appear aggressive in terms of headline spending, but they are still strategically investing in key areas of the roster. Two of the most significant additions came early in free agency with the arrivals of edge rusher Rashawn Gary and safety Jalen Thompson. Gary brings a reputation as a consistent defender against the run while providing a respectable pass rush presence. He may not be the elite edge terror that fans hoped for when rumors of a Max Crosby trade surfaced, but he adds stability to the defensive line. Thompson's acquisition might prove even more impactful. His versatility in the secondary allows Christian Parker to deploy multiple coverage looks, disguising defensive intentions before the snap. Thompson has experience playing deep coverage, rotating into the box, and matching up against tight ends. In modern NFL defenses where flexibility is everything, that skill set is invaluable. Despite these additions, however, the Cowboys still face a number of roster questions that will likely shape the next phase of the offseason. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the Dallas Cowboys' evolving roster strategy, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the conversation in the comments. Let me know how you feel about these moves so far and what you think the Cowboys still need to become true contenders this season. One of the most glaring concerns remains the linebacker position. Going into the offseason, the Cowboys openly acknowledged that linebacker was their biggest need. And yet, after the first wave of free agency, the position remains largely untouched. If the season started today, DeMarvion Overshown would be leading a group that also includes second-year player Shamar James and undrafted free agent Justin Barron. That's a young and relatively unproven trio for a position that traditionally serves as the heartbeat of the defense. Dallas attempted to address the need early by pursuing players like Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. Both efforts ultimately fell short. Now the Cowboys must decide whether to pursue a veteran option or rely on the upcoming draft to find a long-term solution. One intriguing possibility is veteran linebacker Jermaine Pratt. Over the past several seasons, Pratt has quietly developed into one of the league's most productive tacklers. He has surpassed 100 tackles in 4 consecutive years and possesses a background as a former safety, giving him strong instincts in coverage. For a defense that struggled with missed tackles and inconsistent coverage from the linebacker position last year, Pratt's skill set could provide immediate stability. His ability to diagnose plays quickly and move sideline to sideline would fit well within Christian Parker's system. Of course, no offseason is complete without departures as well. One notable exit is wide receiver Jalen Tolbert, who is heading to the Miami Dolphins. Tolbert entered the league in 2022 with considerable expectations after being drafted in the 3rd round. At the time, Dak Prescott himself expressed strong belief in the young receiver's potential. Unfortunately, Tolbert never fully translated that promise into consistent production. While flashes of talent appeared throughout his tenure, penalties and inconsistency prevented him from securing a long-term role in the offense. His departure leaves the Cowboys with additional questions about wide receiver depth behind CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Another player moving on is safety Wanya Thomas, who signed a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts. Thomas appeared in 36 games during his time in Dallas, but struggled with migraine issues last season that limited his availability. His exit further emphasizes the importance of the Cowboys' recent investments at the safety position. Amid all of these roster changes, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The Cowboys are reshaping the defensive identity of this team. Christian Parker's system appears to emphasize versatility, aggression, and adaptability. Defensive backs who can move around the formation. Safeties capable of playing multiple roles. Edge defenders who can contribute against both the run and the pass. It's a philosophy designed to create confusion for opposing offenses while generating opportunities for turnovers. And when those turnovers happen, the plan is simple. Give the ball back to Dak Prescott. Because for all the defensive adjustments happening in Dallas, the ultimate ceiling of this team still depends on the quarterback under center. Prescott remains one of the most experienced leaders in the NFL, and when given support from a complementary defense, his ability to orchestrate high-powered offensive drives becomes even more dangerous. The Cowboys' offseason strategy suggests a belief that the formula for success is not reinventing the offense, but empowering it with more opportunities. If the defense can produce takeaways, shorten the field, and create momentum swings, Prescott and the offense will have the chance to capitalize. That's the vision players like Durant are buying into. And if it works, the Cowboys could be building a team capable of finally turning regular season success into something much bigger. If you want more in-depth analysis like this on the Dallas Cowboys and everything happening around the NFL, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next breakdown. Because the Cowboys offseason is far from over, and the moves they make next could determine whether this roster becomes a contender or just another chapter in Dallas' long search for championship glory.